Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Thursday. A pleasant day in the capital city. And we've got 3 hours to talk sports with you here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and streaming on video on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook, WIBW News. Greetings and salutations. Great to have you aboard. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski is hanging out, and Spencer Dupuis will be along in a little while as well to complete the set. And we have got 3 hours of sports talk coming your way, which has been rare this week. We've had a lot of truncated shows. We only had 2 hours yesterday.
It's literally our only day this week with a full 3 hours.
That's right, because we'll be off early for high school basketball tomorrow. So, yes,
Enjoy it while you get it.
Yeah, enjoy the full 3 hours. We actually had to earn our paychecks coming up with stuff to talk about today. So,
well, that's a stretch.
Yeah, I know. It sounded good. It sounded nice. Brendan is back from Pittsburgh.
Man,
how was Brahms?
It was delicious. Great. Number 2, medium. I didn't need the large on my way home last night. I ordered at about 10:15.
We had fun yesterday informing Spencer about 2 very important pieces of lore regarding Pittsburgh. Number 1, the whole Chicken Annie's, Chicken Mary's thing.
Of course.
And also the fact that when you walk into John Lance Arena, you are doing so as part of the large facility known as the Garfield Weed Building.
Yes. Yes, you are.
And I love that so much.
Garfield Weed.
We did. We ran through old Garfield Doc Weed's Wikipedia.
Yeah.
He's a dentist.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting guy.
Yeah. Coach and AD at Washburn, then coach of all sports at Pitt State. Like every sport, which at the time was football and basketball.
Hey, look. It's all about titles.
Look, man, it was the 1910s, 1920s. We were just getting back from World War I at the time.
It's a big gym, although I remember being down there in 2019. It was the first weekend of the basketball season, which always overlaps with the usually, 10th week of the football season these days?
Yes.
So everybody scatters all about. And I remember being there. I was with the women, embedded with one of Ronnie Mack's last teams. And I remember thinking that gym was like the biggest arena I'd ever been in. It felt so cavernous.
It does. It really does.
I got there yesterday. I was like, this isn't even like the biggest gym in the conference.
No.
Why did I feel like it was so big? It is sizable, but Central Missouri is like playing inside of an airplane hangar.
Yes.
Like it is so gigantic.
Big facts. What's the one you're going to on Saturday?
Oh, yes, the old Leggett and Platt Center.
Yeah, Leggett and Platt is huge. The Looney Complex felt a lot bigger before they painted it black. And now
it's very tall.
Yes.
You can hear the echo of their women's basketball coach yelling the entire game. Sorry, Coach Feldhaus. Yeah, so it's, but no, it was up and down evening for the Ichabod.
Sure.
The Pitt State women are really good.
Yes, they are.
The first 16 minutes of the women's game, I'm not kidding, Dan, that might have been the best 16 minutes of head-to-head basketball I've seen all year. Like, it was awesome. The shot making was great. There was just enough defense. Like, it was incredible hoop. And then there was a review that took an eternity to determine, and then all of Washburn's momentum was gone. And Pitt ended up winning in the women's game, but they're top 10 in the country. Men won by 10, probably could have won by more, but missed a bunch of free throws late. Won by 10 on the road against the second best team in the MIAA. And that's what they do. That is what they do.
Back in form.
Yeah, it was awesome.
We can say firmly about the Ichabod men. So that's where Brendan was yesterday. He's back with us today. And again, Spencer Dupuis will be along in a little bit. I am Dan Lucero. We got not quite breaking as of right this second, but we've got Chiefs news to talk about. What a twist in the tale of the Trey Smith saga. 48 hours ago, if you'd asked me, is Trey Smith going to be a Chief in 2025? I would have said no and felt real confident about it. Trey Smith is going to be a Chief in 2025 because they franchise tagged him today. Remember last week when they said they weren't going to do that? Or I guess I shouldn't say they. It never came out of Brett Veach's mouth, but it was widely reported by sources who know these kinds of things and have those conversations with people like Brett Veach or close to Brett Veach, that the Chiefs were not going to franchise or transition tag their all-pro right guard. And today, they did. They just decided to.
I was working for years on this story, and he just came out and said it.
So the big off-season dominoes for the Chiefs have now fallen. The big intrigue. Is Travis Kelce coming back? Yep. Texted Pat McAfee and told him he's coming back. That's Pat McAfee's basically Walter Cronkite at this point. You can trust everything that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And Trey Smith is back. He is being transitioned. He has been franchise tag, not transition tag. Important distinction. And it's the non-exclusive franchise tag. And the reporting from folks who are Chiefs insiders is that the plan is to work on a long-term deal with Trey Smith. How did we get here? We'll talk all about it on today's show. Also going to talk some K-State hoops. They lost last night. They did not look good in the process. And then Jerome Tang kept it really real with Wyatt and Stan on the post-game radio interview last night.
Bordering really close on when keeping it real goes wrong.
No, I think this is when keeping it real goes right. This is the thing that a coach will never say out loud. And Jerome Tang said it out loud last night. And I don't blame him one little bit. If you watch the game, you can certainly understand where Coach Tang's frustrations are coming from as K-State continues to limp towards the end of this lost season, losing their fourth straight 80-76 at UCF last night. They trailed for 36 of the 40 minutes. So that final score is a little bit flattering. Also, they had the ball with a chance to tie twice in the final minute and turned it over both times. Though very creatively the first time. I must say, it was very interesting that Brendan Housen got shoved out of bounds and there was no whistle. Very, very curious. The head official for last night's game should be frog walked to prison. Like it was that bad.
Was it Tony Padilla?
Brooks Wells.
Oh,
yes.
More like Crooks Wells.
Yes.
The way he fixed that game. Am I right, folks?
We'll get there. We'll talk some K-State hoops a little bit later on in the program. We're going to talk some Royals baseball today as well. A segment that maybe changed meaning just a little bit with some breaking news from Royals camp today that we have not yet seen Carlos Estevez's Royals debut in the Cactus League because he's been dealing with some back tightness. That may slow his readiness for the upcoming season. But in a best-case scenario, I like what the Royals are planning with their bullpen with Lucas Erceg at the center of it. We'll discuss that on the show. Two great guests today. We're talking local sports, high school sports, Washburn University athletics with Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. He joined us at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour for the local sports spotlight. And at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, CJ Moore from The Athletic will join us for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. We'll get his thoughts on all things Big 12 hoops, including KU and K-State. And we'll get a look at some national stories as well. That is coming up with CJ Moore, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And, of course, all the things you've come to know and love from a Thursday edition of the show. We'll do some either or over-under. We got our 580 Sports Talk headlines at 5 o'clock. And it's our semifinals, our February semifinals of What Is Wrong With You. And, man, we got two heavyweight bouts coming your way on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by State Farm agent Ryan Mowinkle, coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. You are invited and encouraged to be a part of the dialogue and discussion today here on 580 Sports Talk. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Go subscribe to that channel if you have not already. There is a chat feature on the web browser and the mobile app, and you can interact with us, and you can interact with your fellow listeners throughout today's show. Good afternoon to Christopher, Ryan, Mark H. is in, the Jayhawkers in as well, and we look forward to hearing from them and many more of you as you get on into the YouTube chat as the show goes on today. You can also text the program. That's, I guess, the old school way, but go ahead and shoot us a text. 785-272-9429 is the number. That's 785-272-9429. The news broke while I was taking my lunch. I had just finished my sandwich, and I looked down at my phone. I had the ESPN app update alert from Adam Schefter that the Chiefs were going to franchise tag Trey Smith. Ian Rappaport would post to his socials an intriguing move as Kansas City keeps one of its best players on a 1-year, fully guaranteed deal of $23.4 million. It is important to note when talking about the franchise tag for an offensive lineman, for the franchise tag money, in case you're not aware, is determined by your position. So if you tag a quarterback, what is it? The average of the top five players at the position. I think that's right. So the top 5 players at the position, you average out that dollar figure, and that's what you get fully guaranteed if you play on the tag. That's if you're a tight end, top 5 tight ends. If you're a linebacker, it's the top 5 linebackers. If you're a safety, it's the top 5 safeties, so on and so forth. But if you're an offensive lineman, there's no distinction between tackle, guard, and center. So the franchise tag for offensive linemen is based on guards and centers and tackles, meaning that it's a higher dollar figure because tackles get paid more than guards do.
So it's the official one. You were right on with it, Dan, but the exact details of it, the top 5 salaries at the position over the last 5 years averaged out, or 120% of the previous salary, whichever number is bigger. For Smith, for linemen this year, it goes up to whatever it is, 25.1 million, whatever it ends up being. That's a nice little boost for Trey Smith there. I would also like to add one other detail because I saw a lot of confusion on social media about this. So there's different kinds of franchise tags. There's the exclusive tag and there's the non-exclusive tag. And the Chiefs gave Trey Smith the non-exclusive tag, which confused a lot of people because said, wait a minute, the Chiefs are opening the negotiating window, or are trying to keep their negotiating window intact, but they gave him a non-exclusive tag so other teams can negotiate with him. That doesn't make sense. Make it make sense for me, please, Chiefs beat writers or people who understand the cap. The non-exclusive tag should always be what you do. Because, yes, theoretically, the Bears could say, we want Trey Smith so badly. Ryan Poles has to have his guy. They can make him an offer, and they can give him an offer sheet. The Chiefs then have 2 options. They can match whatever the Bears offered him, and that's just the contract that he'll get. Same deal, but from the Chiefs. Or the Chiefs can say, okay, Bears, you can sign him off the franchise tag. And then the Bears owe the Chiefs 2 first-round picks. Non-negotiable. That is not a negotiable piece. That is part of the deal from the NFL. 2 first-round picks. And I like Trey Smith a lot, and I'm pretty happy that it looks like the Chiefs are going to get him back long-term because I do think he's an above-average player. He ain't worth 2 first-round picks.
No.
Even when he was drafted, he fell to the 3rd day because of the health problems. He still was probably going to be like late 2nd, early 3rd round.
Right.
He didn't work 2 firsts.
Yeah. So nobody else is going to extend the offer sheet because nobody in the league would trade 2 first-round picks for any guard.
For comparison's sake, no one even negotiated when Lamar Jackson went on the non-exclusive tag. The Falcons were like, nope, sorry, can't do it. Can't trade 2 firsts for Lamar, so no one's going to do that for Trey Smith.
That's why they're the Falcons.
Correct.
So $23.4 million is the figure that Trey Smith is sitting on right now. And as the Jayhawker points out in the YouTube live chat, we'll pass along to those just listening. That will indeed make Trey Smith the highest paid guard in the NFL by $2.4 million. Landon Dickerson's on the highest average annual value deal per year for a guard. The Eagles guard makes $21 million a year. After the initial surprise of this news wore off, and again, surprising in the sense of, wow, this was something that it was explicitly reported that the Chiefs were not going to do. 48 hours, all it took to go from the Chiefs are not tagging Smith to, well, maybe the bump in the salary cap is high enough to put a return back on the table to the Chiefs are tagging Trey Smith. That gave me whiplash. I understand if it gave you whiplash as well. But with the benefit of the moment to digest the news, I see how we follow the story. And the story follows from the assumption that I had made being correct, that the Chiefs entered the 2024 season with the expectation that it was going to be Trey Smith's last season in a Chiefs uniform. That the Chiefs looked at what happened to the guard market last offseason with guys like Robert Hunt, who is a nice player, but he's not as good as Trey Smith, getting $100 million over 5 years and $20 million guaranteed. And the Chiefs evaluating that and saying, we're just not going to be able to do it. We're not going to be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish in the 2025 offseason and give Trey Smith the money that the open market will demand. Then the Chiefs got the new cap number. We talked about this yesterday. Nate Taylor reported this out. The Chiefs were anticipating a number around $270 million. Today we got the official number, $279.2 million per team under the salary cap. And when the Chiefs got that new number, it made it feel a bit more feasible that they could keep Trey Smith and still accomplish what they wanted to accomplish this offseason. Also, probably true that the team's performance in the Super Bowl impacted what their priorities were for this 2025 offseason. So the deadline for the legal tampering, before the legal tampering period, is March 10th. The Chiefs had until March 10th at that point when they heard the number. They had from then until the legal tampering period to say, we can exclusively negotiate with our guy to bring him back. But that's not a lot of time. How can you buy more time? The franchise tag. So you would definitely need more time if there had been no substantial conversations about what a extension would look like, what it would look like to negotiate with Trey Smith and with his representatives. So I really do think that was it. I think the Chiefs really did go in about a 2-week span from, yeah, we're grateful to have had Trey Smith, but we're not going to be able to keep him. Happy trails and good luck to you, to, oh my God, we just got annihilated at the line of scrimmage on the Super Bowl. And, oh, wait, the salary cap's going to be a little higher. Let's scramble the Jets here and make a run at Big 65. And that's how you get here.
Yeah. And again, your options here with Trey Smith, the constant is he's going to enter free agency, right? So your options for your new right guard in Kansas City were either Hunter Norzad or CJ Hansen, who you drafted last year, who, were on the roster, but never really made an impact at all, understandably. Trying to find a guy in the draft again, move a natural tackle to guard, which I don't hate experimenting with that. And you may still have to, because Joe Thuney's not getting younger, for what it's worth.
I think Kingsley Suamataia, we talked about this yesterday, he's on the move. I think his future is at guard with the Chiefs.
I don't hate it. I really don't. But moving him to right guard on the fly and having him start there, a new position, restarting essentially, or you hit the free agent market and you try to find a guy who's out there. And I like Brandon Sheriff. I think he's a good player, but does Brandon Sheriff move the needle this much at this stage of his career? I don't know. So with all those other outcomes and then the salary cap going up, just bringing back Trey Smith feels like the best possible outcome, because I think right now, again, as good as Brandon Sheriff has been in his career, I think Trey Smith's a better player. He's younger. He's been healthy. He's got a clean bill of health ever since the the combine scare when he entered the draft in 21. I have no problem with that. We've probably hit a point where he's gotten a little bit overrated by some folks, but then there have also been people who cover the NFL, the Nate Tices, some of the stat guys were like, oh, actually, he's bad, which is clearly not true. He's clearly a very good player. Maybe not elite, but very good. Better than Robert Hunt, who got paid big bucks last year, as you pointed out. So the next step, Trey Smith's going to be back. We have this pointed out. Jayhawker on YouTube mentions this. With Kelsey and Smith both coming back, that means no money for a left tackle. I don't know if I would go as far as to say no money. I do think there are a couple things that will need to be worked out here. I still have my heart set on Alaric Jackson, the current and maybe soon former Rams left tackle. I still think you can get him at a pretty affordable deal for pretty good. And would you take pretty good at left tackle right now? Yes.
I would take Eric Fisher caliber production at left tackle without thinking twice.
I would take Eric Fisher in a heartbeat. And yeah, without question at this point. So there's a couple different ways you can get there. Guys can be restructured, and I would be pretty surprised if we don't see a Mahomes restructure this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I think this is the year where, hey, let's make sure we get the guy. We got to kick the can down the road of Mahomes. Fine. You know how we'll mitigate that in the future? Another contract for Patrick Mahomes, and nobody will complain about that. So you can restructure him there to save some money. With Smith, the other thing you can work on here, you don't have to the franchise tag. You have until June, I believe, late June, to get an extension done with a player on the tag. You don't have to wait until that point. I believe it was 3 or 4 players who got tagged last year, got deals long-term before free agency even ended up starting. The Chiefs could get a deal done tomorrow. This is just a safety measure. Hey, just in case we can't finish the negotiation, get over the line, let's make sure we tag him so we have him anyway. It's a procedural move more than anything. They could get a deal done by free agency, spread out the cap hit, and have plenty of money available to go get Alaric Jackson or somebody else.
Yeah.
So I do think you had to do some finagling with it, but the Chiefs are as good as any franchise at being smart with the cap. The Chiefs, Green Bay is really good at it. The Saints are on the opposite end of the spectrum. They do not know how to do it.
No.
And
no
now
clue.
they end up Do you know who's making more money this year against the cap for the Saints between these two players? Chris Olave or Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas is making more money from the Saints this year than Chris Olave. Michael Thomas has not played for the Saints in years. Yeah, it's brutal. So that's what we're talking about here. You got to get creative with it, but I trust this front office. They can find a way to make it work.
Yeah, and
adding, I still think, I said this the other day, I'm sorry to cut you off, Dan. I still think adding a void year for Travis Kelce is not out of the question.
Yeah.
But it won't.
I think they could do that for him, and maybe they may have already done it for Tooney
I think they may
have. And they could very well do that, and then looking at the long haul, you could also do a bit of backloading where next year, I don't think Juwan Taylor is a Chief beyond 2025.
No, I don't either.
I think they'll move on in the last year of that deal where they'll have a little bit of cap savings for that. And so you've got ways that you can be creative with the money. I don't think this is, well, all of the resources are to Trey Smith. I do think it makes it less likely for a Justin Reed reunion. Nick Bolton, I think, is coming back no matter what. I think they're going to make that happen, and Nick Bolton will be. It would stun me to see Nick Bolton in a different uniform. I've said it time again.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating case because I'm, my feelings about the player.
Uh-huh.
But again, I mean, he's such a Spags guy.
Sometimes guys are more valuable to you than they would be anywhere else.
Right.
And I think
so
if Nick
I'm
Bolton
with you,
but hit the open market, he would quickly find that out.
But, $19 million against the cap for Kelce. Trey Smith's going to get something, unless the Chiefs do a wild deal where he essentially gets nothing for 2 years, a gigantic cap hit in year 3, and then something smaller year 4, which I don't really think the Chiefs will do. That's not really how they do business. I'm intrigued. I assume Bolton will be back. I figure they will find the money for it, but I'm curious how they get there. I am bummed this will be it for Justin Reed, though, because I do like Reed as a player. I think he's a really, not elite. He's not Earl Thomas. He's not Kyle Hamilton for a more modern player, but he's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player, good leader, and but those are the decisions you have to make. This is, like we said, there are degrees of team building that are like levels on the video game. Rookie mode is quarterback on a cheap deal. Chiefs got to play rookie mode for a little while with Mahomes on the cheap deal. Then they went up to like veteran mode with a lot of key components on rookie deals because they crushed the draft in 2021 and 22 and have had guys like McDuffie and Karlaftis and Bolton and Smith and Humphrey, guys like that on really affordable, their rookie deals. And now some of those guys need to be paid too. So now you're moving up again. You're moving up another level when it comes to constructing your roster against a salary cap. You're moving up to, you're not at all Madden yet, but you're on, I guess that would be all Madden. All Pro, maybe? Goes to All Pro,
all Pro,
Madden,
then All Madden, yeah.
Then Hall of Fame, or am I thinking of a different video game? It might just go All Pro, All Madden.
I think it ends at All Madden.
I think you're right. Yeah. Chiefs are moving up to All Pro level.
This is not super pertinent right now, and thankfully for the Chiefs, they don't have to worry about this at the moment. You know who is going to be a fascinating case 1 year from now, though? George Karlaftis. Mm-hmm. He's got the 5th-year option, which helps. And
that's a no-brainer to pick up.
Yeah, you'll take that no matter what. I don't know what they're going to do with Karlaftis. I like George. I love that motor. I mean, he's got as good a motor as anybody on this team. 24.5 sacks through 3 years. Not a bad number by any means.
No.
But are you going to pay him like a number 1 edge rusher? This is the downside. This is why we always talk about the NFL either drags you down or if you're really bad, it pulls you up. And everybody is trying to battle against the current that's making them 8-1 every single season. The downside of drafting incredibly and having an amazing 2022 draft is you got a lot of good players who need their money. And you're going to pay Smith, and you already paid Humphrey, and Mahomes is going to get his money one way or the other. And Chris Jones is on a pretty big contract. That might be moved around in the future as well. Who knows what they're going to do at left tackle? Maybe that's a lot of money. You're going to pay Trent McDuffie. What about some of those other guys? It's the downside of being a great drafter. Yeah. Tough luck, Brett Veach. You are amazing at doing that and had one of the best single-team drafts ever in 2022. Now you got to pay him. Good luck.
We'll take a quick time out, come back with some either or over-unders. We're just getting rolling on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Quick round of either or over-under. Let's start with an over-under. Highest paid guard in the NFL right now, Landon Dickerson, $21 million. Let's set $21.5 million per year over or under on the average annual value of Trey Smith's next contract.
I'd like to push that number, frankly, but I'll go over it. I mean, he's not going to go under that amount. I mean, he's too good to get a below market setting deal, whether he's an elite player or not, whether or not he's the best guard on this team. He's too good to not reset the market. So I'll go over. I think around 22 probably makes sense. We look in 4 years, 88 total, 5 years, 110 total, something like that.
4 for 88 is the Juwan Taylor deal. To the letter.
Well, he's 4 for 80, I think.
Nah, I thought he was 88.
Is it 88?
Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I in my head it's been 4 for 88 for all this time.
4 for 80.
Is it 4 for 80? Okay. Well,
wow, he's a bargain.
Yeah, and that totally reframes what I think of Juwan Taylor. No, I could see the Chiefs saying, "Hey, yeah, we're gonna set the market with you, but it's going to look something like 21.25. Like it's going to be a little closer. I think there's a real chance that it's not a huge jump into the stratosphere. So I think it might be tight to that 21 million a year number, maybe 21.1, 21.25, something like that.
It'll be like when all those quarterbacks signed deals a couple of years ago, Burrow and Hurts and Jackson and someone else.
An incremental raise.
Herbert got his deal. Yeah, it was like $500,000 here. Yeah. $1 million here.
If they go 5 years, maybe 21.2, so he gets a nice like round number, 5 for 105 there.
All right, let's go to baseball
5 for 106.
Mine. We will do in over under as we get closer and closer to opening day. We'll do a couple of these over the next few weeks. Bobby Witt Jr. power numbers. Let's go with over under. Let's set the number at 30 again. Over under 30 home runs. 30 and a half home runs for Bobby Witt Jr. in 2025.
30 and a half home runs. I will take, that's a lot of home runs for a guy to hit in Kauffman Stadium, but I'll take the over since he's gotten better as a hitter in each of his first 3 seasons. And nice timing. He literally just homered in the Royal Spring Training game. Like 5 minutes ago, hit a yak off of Tyler J. of Milwaukee.
I wish I could say that it was inspired by that, but it was not. It was total coincidence.
Super impressive. Honestly, that's even more impressive.
Yeah, so he hit 20 as a rookie, 30 in 23 as part of a 4.5 win season. And then last year when he could have been the MVP, he went for 32. I'll go under. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to hit 15, like high 20s probably sounds fair. If he goes over 30 again, we already know he's a special player, but like we're talking about a historically good player.
I think there's a chance he gets more fastballs if there's some more traffic on base in front of him, and would expect that to be the case with Jonathan India now as the Royals leadoff hitter. So you might see some more fastballs. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, Rick Peterson joins us for the local sports spotlight. We're talking local sports with Pistol next on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline is the great Rick Peterson, who covers Shawnee County High School sports and the Washburn Ichabods for TopSports.news, an indispensable daily read. If you live in this area and you love sports, Pistol joins us every Thursday for what we call the local sports spotlight. And boy, Pistol, you saw two awesome high school basketball games last night at Seaman, huh?
Yeah, no, especially the girls. I mean, the girls was just close the entire way. Seaman was down a good part of that by as much as like 7, but never lost contact, which I think is always important, and gave themselves a chance. And then Maddie Gregg came up with a huge play. It was a ball that looked like it was in Piper's hands 3 times, and Seaman's hands 3 times, and Maddie finally saw it laying there and grabbed it, threw it up just in time to get the win.
Yeah, remarkable game there. 1-point game in the girls' game, 1-point game on the boys' side as well. And Piper came into the year expected to be a 5A contender. They were the state runners-up last year, brought a lot back. Obviously, a head coach in Steve Wallace, who's got state championship winning experience. But Seaman has shown throughout the year that they're capable of playing at a high level. And even though they got beat last night, you wrote about it in your story, they can be pretty excited about their effort and that it showed that they're capable of competing at that level.
Yeah, they were down 15 points, 20-5, right off the bat. I mean, right off the bat in the first quarter. Down 12 at halftime, and just really played a strong second half and gave themselves a chance. Piper was nice enough to help them out with a bunch of missed free throws, but you have to capitalize on that, and Seaman did. But Piper just did just enough to hang on for the win. And I expected Piper to play well last night because they were coming off a rare loss the night before to Baser Linwood. So, yeah, I thought it would be a good game, and it was.
Two great ones. You can read the recaps of them over at TopSports.news. And a short turnaround for Seaman as they will visit Shawnee Heights in the regular season finale for both teams tomorrow night in Tecumseh. That is our 580 Preps game of the week. You'll be able to hear those games right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 tomorrow night as the Thunderbirds and the Vikings battle. And regular season finale against Shawnee Heights. The last time the Seaman girls lost, you have to go all the way back to last year. They've ripped off 24 straight wins since then, beat Shawnee Heights by 10 in the first meeting. And boy, I'm really looking forward to seeing this second meeting and seeing if, like last year, Shawnee Heights can maybe trip up their rivals.
Yeah, and I think last night actually brought them to 25. So that, what amazing. I mean, what an amazing streak that is in the teams that they play. I mean, they played really good competition in the Glazers' Edge. They got several good teams, including Piper, which has now played them to 2- and 1-point games. And, DeSoto's very good. They've played a really tough schedule, and to be 19-0 with that schedule is amazing for the Vikings.
Boys' game should be really good, too, after Shawnee Heights suffered a rare defeat earlier this year at Seaman. It's one of only 3 losses for Ken Darding's bunch. Seaman got him by 2 points in the first meeting, so we can expect another narrow one. I cannot remember a year where we had so many of these really close games, but the United Kansas Conference just delivers them at the top of the league over and over again.
You're right. At the top of the league. At the top of the league, on a given night, you don't know who's the best team in the league. I guess on most nights, Piper, but shoot, Baser is just coming on like gangbusters. And Shawnee Heights, like as you said, has had just a super year. And I saw them beat Baser just here a while back. And so, yeah, it is good. The bottom of the league, is not so much, but Baser beat Topeka West by 1 point, I believe, last night. So top of the league, just super good.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.news is our guest. This is the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Thursday at this time. Pistol joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Earlier this week, game we brought you here on 580 WIBW, the Topeka High girls pulled off an upset of 5th-ranked Washburn Rural. Had not beaten them or played particularly well against them in 2 earlier meetings, but third time in the charm for Ron Slaymaker's group. And I'm telling you right now, they have beaten Washburn Rural at home. They've beaten that Life Prep program out of Wichita that's got a bunch of Division I recruits. You sleep on Topeka High, they have a chance, I think, to pull an upset come sub-state time.
I think they have to be enjoying this. They had some great teams under Hannah Alexander with Nija and the Smith sisters and on and on and on. But then after last year, last 2 years, we're down a little bit, particularly last year. I think they're doing great. And I think you're right. Nobody wants to sleep on them. And a lot of people talk to me when they made the decision to hire Ron Slaymaker, oh gosh, what's he doing? Why are they doing that? Nobody's saying that now. I mean, he's done a super job with that team.
He really has, and he's gotten them to buy in, to play together, and they've got a starting five. I'll tell you right now, Pistol, like they may not have the depth some other teams have, but they're starting five, especially with the freshman Haley Carroll in the post, those two guards, Kamara Marshall and Shai Rayton. That's as good a starting five as there is, I think, on that west half of the 6A bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, you're right. They'd like to develop a little more depth. The short girls playing well, though, and I think they're working on that. But yeah, if they stay out of foul trouble and they're hitting their shots, they can beat anybody, as they're starting to prove.
We got a couple more minutes with Rick Peterson of TopSports.news joining us for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. Go check out all of Pistol's great work covering our local teams, high school and Washburn, over at TopSports.news. As for those Washburn Ichabods, Pistol, the men on the basketball court just continue to win. That's a gritty one yesterday. Maybe not the most visually appealing, aesthetically pleasing game they've played all year, but you go on the road to the second best team in the conference and beat them by double figures. That's a pretty darn good game. Could have been even worse if Washburn had just made some free throws. That's a really impressive win, in my opinion, last night.
You know how I know it's impressive. And then I was able to get out of the Piper Seaman games just in time to turn on the post game with you and Coach Ballard. When you're disappointed a little bit, not much, but a little bit, about going on the road and winning and beating a really good team by 10, that shows how high your expectations are now and going forward.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it after it happened on Saturday, obviously, because we haven't spoken since then. But clinching the MIAA championship outright for the men, doing it in unbelievable fashion, crushing a good Rogers State team over the weekend, and then really putting no doubt between them and the Gorillas last night. From a historical perspective, Pistol, it's been 21 years since Washburn has won the MIAA outright. How special has this group been? How impressive has this season been? And where does this stack up against some of the best Washburn teams of all time?
I think it has to be right up there. Obviously, you look at the national championship team, that was NAIA as opposed to NCAA Division II, but you also had some great players on that team with Tommy Meyer, Rob Riley, on and on and on. But I enjoy so much watching this team. And I really enjoyed Saturday because, like you said, that's a 20-win Rogers State team that they beat by 30, and I really enjoyed watching that. And then I'm sure you did too. It was fun to watch their post-game stuff because you could tell they were just eating it up. I mean, just enjoying life, enjoying basketball, and getting to celebrate at home. I thought was very big for that program and kind of gives them some, gets them fired up for the rest of the year, which is going to get tough in a hurry.
Probably worth noting too, Pistol. You mentioned the, it was the NAIA championship back in 1987. The NAIA then is not what it is now. I'm looking at the bracket from that tournament. A bunch of schools that were in it, Washburn, some programs from up in Minnesota Duluth, teams that are Nebraska Kearney, teams that are now Division II. The College of Charleston was in that. That's a Division I school now. Like that, it wasn't quite the same then as it is now at the NAIA level. So obviously it was impressive back then, just like this group has been this year. As for the women, on the road yesterday, taking on a really good Pittsburgh State team, first and only time this year, fall by 23. But even with that, I don't want to totally whitewash what was a lopsided loss, but this Ichabod's team has been playing really good basketball. And over the last couple of games at home this past week, I thought we got to see about as close to a Final Form as we might get for this team. Just the combination of what they can do at their best offensively, combined with some pretty good lockdown defense as well on Saturday.
Yeah, and the thing about, one thing, okay, Pittsburgh State was coming off their first conference loss, I believe, and then you got them at home. So you're on the road and you got them at home. So we knew last night was going to be tough, and it was. But what I've been impressed with, Laura's first year, they win 11 games. Her second year, they win 13 games. This year, they've won 16 with a chance to win more. You can tell that program's turning the corner. And I think you and I are so used to seeing, we forget to mention this, no seniors. So, they're just going to keep growing.
A couple more questions for Rick Peterson of TopSports.news as we wrap up the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. State wrestling this weekend for the girls and the boys. Pistol, what are the big storylines we'll be following out of Topeka and Shawnee County as the state championships are contested on the mats?
Well, I'm headed to Wichita bright and early in the morning. And then I got Isaac Deer going up to 6A at Overland Park on Saturday. The big story out of that is Easton Brocksterman going for a third straight 6A state title. That's big. And then Washburn Rural Girls. I think a lot of people are counting them out this year. I don't think that's necessarily a wise move. They'll be going for their third straight team title, which is amazing. In 5A, Shawnee Heights girls have been top ranked a lot of the year. So I think we're going to have a lot to write about, which is always good.
We'll be looking forward to reading all about it at TopSports.news with Rick Peterson and the rest of the outstanding staff over there covering Shawnee County High School athletics and the Washburn Ichabods. TopSports.news. Rick Peterson joins us every Thursday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for the local sports spotlight. Pistol, enjoy the Air Capital and state wrestling. We'll talk to you next week.
Look forward to it.
That is Rick Peterson. We will take one final time out this hour, come back and wrap up the 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Brendan with you on 580 Sports Talk, wrapping up the 3 o'clock hour. Sad news from Hollywood today. Gene Hackman, dead at the age of 95, one of the all-time greats to ever grace the silver screen, and played 2 notable coaches. Actually 3, but I never saw a downhill racer. So I cannot speak to his portrayal of the United States ski coach in Downhill Racer. But everybody remembers Norman Dale and Hoosiers. Just about everybody remembers Jimmy McGinty, the coach of the Washington Sentinels, in The Replacements, which was kind of played by Hackman as a bit of a Norman Dale send-up in a way. But is there a greater movie coach than Norman Dale?
Probably not.
I have my problems with Hoosiers. It is not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, but Gene Hackman is perfect in it. And there is a lot about it that is, Dennis Hopper is also perfect in it. There's a lot of it that is very, very good. And Norman Dale's pregame speech, it used to be a part of our broadcast opens here for high school sports on 580 WIBW. I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the night. My book, we're going to be winners. And man, my team is on the floor. And I think that's the best portrayal of a coach in a sports movie.
You like that over Nick Nolte and Blue Chips?
Yeah, I do. Nolte was very believable as like a Bobby Knight type. Like it fit.
That's currently in the open to the Washburn broadcast.
Yes,
his speech. Herman Boone.
Herman Boone is another one that would be on the Mount Rushmore, so to speak. Denzel Washington, Remember the Titans, certainly.
Steve Martin in Cheaper by the Dozen, the 2002 remake.
I never saw that movie.
You're not missing much. He was the college football coach, though.
I don't love The Replacements like you love The Replacement.
Yeah, it's my movie, and that's fine. Like, I know it stinks, but that's all right.
But
comfort movie.
Yeah.
You see Keanu Reeves take the field in that Silver Sentinels helmet. Oh, you know it's game time. Got to have heart.
I think you'll find that those baskets are the same measurements as the one we've got back in Hickory. Rest in peace to Norman
Lou Brown?
Lou Brown's up there. Yeah. Lou Brown's one of my favorites for sure. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. We're going to talk K-State hoops. Jerome Tang not happy with his club right now and lets them know about it. We've also got our What is Wrong with You February semifinals and our Big 12 basketball breakdown with CJ Moore of The Athletic. That's all coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Well, let's get it. Hour number 2 of this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for being here. If you're just joining us, welcome in. If you've been hanging out with us, welcome back from the break. We're glad you're along for the ride on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And a special hello to those of you watching us on our YouTube stream. The name of the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. We're also on Facebook at WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski rocking with you. Spencer Dupuis is going to be along in a bit. Our thanks again to Rick Peterson for joining us for the local sports spotlight. Mentioned our Friday night high school basketball coverage, our 580 Preps Friday night game of the week. Last one of the regular season tomorrow night. Shawnee Heights versus Seaman. Going to be a dandy. 2 great games on deck. Myself and the coach, Larry Latimer, will be there tomorrow night. But before that, the road to a championship begins tonight.
Oh,
that's right. We got sub-state action in classes 2A and 3A across the state tonight. First round sub-state action. So we have got special coverage coming your way tonight right here on 580 WIBW, the 580 Preps Road to a Championship. Action in the 2A boys sub-state, the Valley Heights sub-state. My mistake. Care Paravel, the number 8 seed in the now 16-team sub-state, taking on the number 9 seed from Jackson Heights. We will have that game from Care Paravel's gym tonight, myself and Larry Latimer. Pre-game coverage about 6:40, 6:45, give or take. Tip-off is scheduled for 7 o'clock. Special coverage tonight as the 580 Preps Road to a Championship gets underway. It's our first time ever broadcasting from Care Paravel's gym. Doing a basketball game of the Lions. So we're looking forward to it.
what are we on tonight, Dan? At 7 o'clock? What are we starting?
580 Preps, Road to a Championship. There it is. That's right.
I don't have it as a hotkey yet, but we'll get it there. So every time we hear it, we'll just bump the tournament theme.
There we go. Yep, it is that time. It is that time. The postseason starting tonight. And
favorite time of the year.
It really is. It's always been my favorite, always has been my favorite time of the year is postseason high school basketball, state tournament basketball. I just love it. It's my favorite part of every year. All due respect to every other sport, every other activity, but man, I can't get enough of the playoffs in high school basketball. It's just the best. And our coverage begins tonight. We'll have more coverage next week as all of the sub-states get underway in 4, 5, and 6A. Coverage will be determined based on how the brackets shake out, and, of course, our airtime availability. We are hoping to be able to bring you games Friday and Saturday, but that may depend on Kansas State's women's basketball team and what their schedule ends up being at the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. So stay tuned. We'll fill you in here on 580 Sports Talk. You can follow our socials. Obviously, we're on X at 580 Sports Talk. We're on Blue Sky 580 Sports Talk. We're on Facebook, WIBW News. Stay in tune with our socials, and you'll know where we'll be, what games we have scheduled as we plan out our next 2 weeks of postseason basketball coverage here on 580 WIBW.
One of the things I always have loved about the postseason and sub-state especially, and the state tournament is so special, but for sub-state in particular, is we here on 580, we get a chance to go and call games for a bunch of teams that, for teams that we've covered all year long, which is obviously great, and get to see them hopefully achieve their goals of reaching the state tournament, winning a state tournament. But then we get games like tonight where we haven't been to Care Paravel before.
Ever.
And that is awesome. I know they're fired up about it. Should be a fun one as they take on Jackson Heights. So that's in the city. And we get to go and call a game from their gym. Again, I know Lions fans are happy we're going to be there. We always do, a doubleheader of small schools. We'll try to get one in again this year. We've been to Perry-LeCompton and Silver Lake and Rossville and Royal Valley and Mission Valley and all over the place. It's so much fun to get to go see other teams. And, I remember the year it was 21. We went out to Mission Valley for a sub-state doubleheader. And I remember we saw Wabunzi out there, and that was a good Wabunzi team. And Coach Erceg, who's now at Topeka West, was leading them. And I remember hearing that they had some good players. We wrote about them in Pigskin and Hoops, but we don't get to see them during the course of the year.
That's true.
And then I got to see them play, and I thought, oh, I get it. No wonder people have been talking about this program and they're like 12 straight wins or whatever. That to me is so fun to get to go out into the smaller outlying communities. So I'm, again, not outlying. They're in the city,
right?
But super, super excited for some Care Paravel action tonight.
Absolutely. Matchup of two really good point guards in tonight's game. Chase Pavlik at Care Paravel, Drake Mellies for Jackson Heights. Should be a good game. Again, coverage starting around 6:40 with the pregame. We'll bring you a little bit of Dave Ramsey after we're done here at 6, and then we'll break into that with our high school basketball coverage. 580 Preps road to a championship. You don't have to hit the sounder again. Once per segment is good.
Don't worry, I wasn't looking anyway.
That's fine. Coming up this hour, 580 Sports Talk, we got our What Is Wrong With You February semifinals. We got 4 weekly champions, including this short week victor, and we're going to pit them against each other to come out with our final 2 for tomorrow's February championship. Also, CJ Moore of The Athletics is going to join us in about 20, 30 minutes or so for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. Get CJ's thoughts on the latest with KU, K-State, the rest of the Big 12, and some national college basketball topics as well. CJ covers it all so well for The Athletics. Still got some sports headlines, some Royals talk to come. Royals trailing the Brewers this afternoon in, oh, damn it, where does Milwaukee train? It's not Glendale. Is it? Maybe it is. Oh, man. I guess it's in Phoenix.
Yeah, it's in Phoenix.
Yeah, I guess they moved into Phoenix. I think they used to train in Glendale, and I thought they'd moved to one of those, Walmart suburbs. But no, it's Phoenix proper. I mean, Surprise qualifies as one of those, frankly, where the Royals train.
Man, you want to talk about some freaking sprawl, Phoenix? Oh
yes,
my God,
it's so big,
so freaking big.
So big. Like if you've been to Greater Phoenix, the Valley of the Sun, it takes like forever to get across the metro area.
I've been once. I've connected through the airport a couple times, but I've been to Phoenix once. And I've shared the story of that trip many times before, but I remember we went on Saturday afternoon. It was the weekend of that famed KU Baylor game at Waco where Doak had one of the best games ever by a KU big man and just would not let the Jayhawks lose in that game in 2020. And we went to Tempe. We found a sports bar in Tempe that we went to, and I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't realize we had left Phoenix proper, but we're just like, oh yeah, we're in Tempe now. Really?
Yeah.
We're not like in Phoenix or Scottsdale. No, just Tempe. Like it's all connected.
And that's the thing.
All sprawling.
There is no distinction.
None.
Tempe is Scottsdale, is Surprise, is Maryvale. That's what I was looking for, by the way. The park is in the Maryvale community of Phoenix.
Okay.
So that's what I was looking for. There's no difference. It's all the same. The mixed suburbs in Phoenix.
Shout out Scottsdale, though.
Also, when you
have a good time in Scottsdale.
You can't have a good time in Scottsdale. Also, Chase Field is what it's called now. It's so big. Like, it sticks out like a sore thumb on that downtown skyline.
Yeah, it looks like from the road, from the highway, the interstate, it looks kind of like a indoor freight yard.
Yes, or a airplane hangar.
Yeah, it's not
a Costco distribution center. Yes.
Yeah.
Where they happen to play baseball.
There are a lot of ballparks where you walk up to it, and I guess I haven't been around a lot of enclosed ballparks, but Wrigley or Coors or the K is different because it's outlying, but like you walk up and oh man, it feels right. Feels like summer baseball, the beauty of the ballpark, and not Bank One Ballpark. I still call it that, by the way.
Yeah, the
Chase
Bob.
Bought Bank One like 20 years ago, and I still call it Bank One Ballpark.
Used to be the Bob. That was a much more fun,
the Bob.
Much more fun thing to call it. Yeah, it doesn't feel like baseball at all. Does not feel in the least like baseball. Anyway, this is a roundabout way to tell you that the Royals are still losing their spring training game 5-4 against Brewers in the bottom of the 6th inning.
And this has been talking baseball.
Yeah, Royals have just 3 hits. One of them a Bobby Witt Jr. home run. Jonathan India has a double and a run driven in. John Rave has the other hit. The other RBI belongs to Michael Garcia, who is 0 for 1, but has walked twice. Not much great to tell you from the mound. Nobody pitching today is probably likely to impact the big club in 2025. Chandler Champlain got the start. Thomas Hatch, Austin Cox, and I believe that's JP. No, it's not JP Sears. Ben Sears. JP Sears is actually good. Good. He's a big leaguer. Ben Sears is not.
Chandler Champlain is such a fake name.
Yeah, that's like a OC cast character. That's somebody who
he and Seth had an awesome 4-episode arc in season 3 of the OC.
It's one of Lauren's exes on Laguna Hills. Was it Laguna Hills?
No, Laguna Beach, the real OC. You're confusing Laguna Beach and the Hills.
I didn't watch either of them, so that tells you where I'm at. Anyway.
That was right in your wheelhouse. You were early college?
Should have been. Yeah, like late, late teens. Yeah, that should have been my wheelhouse. I should have been all about Lauren Conrad. I was not. I could not have been less interested in watching that stuff.
My sister was older than me by 6 years, huge fan of the OC, so I caught a decent amount of that.
There were OC watch parties in the dorms.
All I know is Rachel Bilson was on the OC, and that was enough for me to at least stick around till the commercial break.
All right. Yeah, shout out to Rachel Bilson.
Shout out.
Hope she's well. It's 7-4 now.
This has been Talking Royals.
You'll be happy to hear that the gentleman who hit the home run for Milwaukee, the 2-run home run off of Ross Stripling, who's actually pitching now for the Royals, Josh Adamszewski.
Oh,
yeah, he's one of yours. Is CZEWSKI. They've got a Missorowski on their pitching staff too.
I mean, yeah, it's Milwaukee,
right?
Chicago and Milwaukee, like 99% of America's Polish folks.
Also, I was delighted, and this is not new news because I think he debuted with the team last year, the big league club last year, but I had forgotten that former Royals farmhand Brewer Hicklin had ended up on the Brewers.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
That's tremendous.
So,
man, I forgot about Brewer Hicklin.
He wears his last name on the back of his jersey and the first name on the front of the jersey. Brewer Hicklin, he just got a base hit. Not going well for Ross Stripling in his Royals Cactus League debut. We wanted to talk college basketball here. We're going to get into that because K-State lost last night. We're not putting this off because of any desire not to kick the Wildcats while they're down. And boy, are they down. 4 straight losses, limping to the end of this lost season. They lose 80-76 last night. Game wasn't really even that close for the majority of it. K-State did put a late rally together and had opportunities down the stretch, couple of whistles. You always love when the color commentator in the final minute of a game says something like, Brooks Wells has made several crucial calls in the final minute of this game. I'll bet that made Brooks Wells, I'll bet he DVR'd the game and watched that back, and his heart soared because he got to be the story last night. He called that bogus foul when it looked like K-State had the steal that would have given them the ball back in a 2-point game. Call that I hated that he called from like mid-court, sprinting in 40 feet away to overrule an official. Yeah, Brooks Wells to the gulag immediately. But anyway, K-State lost the game. Max Jones was good. Doug McDaniel almost had a double-double. Nobody else played well. Buddy Rich, still alive, still on the team. He got in last night. Didn't do much of anything. Nobody other than Max Jones and Doug McDaniel, in truth, did a whole lot of anything last night. And Jerome Tang has very clearly reached a bit of a breaking point with this roster because he kept it real in his post-game radio interview, as transcribed by Kellis Robinette of the Star and the Wichita Eagle. Quote, I normally take the blame for stuff and everything, but at some point, some of these guys have got to take ownership of what's going on out there. This one is very frustrating. That is a remarkable thing for a coach to say out loud. And most coaches will do everything in their power to avoid saying it. It will always start with them. And Jerome Tang is no different. The buck stops with Jerome Tang. I have never truly felt like he has just fully abdicated his responsibility of leadership. He will say, even after the most miserable and dour performances, this one is on me. I didn't have my team prepared. We didn't give them a good enough game plan. I didn't put them in position to succeed. Jerome Tang will take that. He will take the blame for every loss. But he's also absolutely correct in saying that at some point, the players have to take ownership of how things go. And that was a team last night that came out with no juice. They got down 14-6 early and were chasing the whole game. Ugonna is starting in place of the injured Coleman Hawkins. Big opportunity for Onyenso to show that he deserves more playing time, show that he deserves an opportunity. He was a dud while he was out there. Buddy Rich gets back on the court for the first time in a dog's age and doesn't do much of anything. It has to be frustrating for a coach to watch a team go through the motions. And every team that is not good, every non-tournament team hits a stretch like this at the end of the season where you don't feel like you're playing for anything anymore, and it's hard to get up for games, and it's hard to get up for opponents that aren't rivals. It's hard to get up for a road game, and you lay an egg. You don't play as well as you should play. It happens. But it shouldn't. And it doesn't happen because the coach quits coaching. It's never been the case. It's about the players. This late losing streak and this mishandling of an opportunity that was in front of Kansas State with 7 games left in their regular season that has now gone by the wayside, the buck stops with the players, I think, just as much as it stops with the coach. So I don't blame Jerome Tang. I 100%. I do not blame him for keeping it real last night in a way that most coaches will do everything in their power to avoid. He got on a hot mic and said, look, man, players play too. I felt like I did my part. I felt like we had them ready to go. And the players have to take ownership. The players have to play with energy. The players have to bring some juice. And they're not. Right now, they're not. They're playing out the string. They went 0-2 on that trip to Utah, and Coleman Hawkins is out, and that has been the excuse that they've needed, that twin-pronged excuse for this team to just pack it in. And that has to be so frustrating for a guy whose whole thing is believing things are possible, even when it doesn't look good, having that crazy faith. It's on T-shirts. It took an act of crazy faith to put that 6-game winning streak together, to get back in real NCAA tournament bubble at-large conversations, and to abdicate that, to just let that go. That's on the players. It is. So anybody's upset at Jerome Tang for saying that, I would not be. I am not, in fact. I think he was right to say it, and players got to look in the mirror and do some soul searching and figure out how they want to end their season, because you only get one season. When the opportunities are gone, it's gone.
Yeah, this is such a bizarre year for Kansas State because they're probably more of what they are right now than they were during that winning streak and when they looked like world beaters for 3 weeks. But by the same token, why was it such a quick shift? And that's a somewhat rhetorical question, but I mean, we went from, there's a real chance of getting off the bubble in a good way if you go 5-2 in your last 7. It might not be perfect, and you never want to rely on winning conference tournament games, but you're going to put yourself in as good a position as you can have with losses to Liberty and Wichita State and a bad LSU team on your schedule. Like they're going to put themselves in a position where the committee has to make a real decision on them. And then it popped. They popped their own bubble immediately. And I don't know why they suddenly were able to find that next level and then why they suddenly regressed off of it too. Because it's not even as simple, Dan, as like, Doug McDaniel decided to be a knucklehead again. And McDaniel's he has not been the reason they've lost the last 4 games.
He has not played well. He has to play better, especially with Coleman Hawkins out for K-State to win. And he has not played well. He was okay last night, and 9 assists. Like he wasn't terrible by any means.
But I don't think his level of engagement is as bad as it was at the start of the year. I don't think we've seen that, the intangible stuff be as bad from him in these last few games. I don't know what has changed it. And again, K-State is more of what they have played like in the last 4 games than probably what they were in the previous 6. But it just feels like this whole season is such a wasted opportunity, and draw a lot of parallels between both teams in the state, right? Like KU obviously better than K-State, but transfers never really quite clicked. Roster fit maybe has never really quite clicked for more than a couple games at a time. And again, KU is better and their problems are different than K-State's, but it does bring us back to the talking point we made early in Big 12 play that When you hire a bunch of mercenaries, you deal with the good, you deal with the bad. And the good can be, whoa, this dude has injected our team full of energy and vivation and all that. And the downside is if it doesn't click, you got one shot. And this shot, unfortunately, has been a misfire.
We're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll get CJ Moore's thoughts on all things Big 12 hoops, including K-State, when he joins us bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. But coming up next, it's the February semifinals of What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. It is time for the February semifinals on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by our buddy Mo, State Farm agent Ryan Mowinkle. Go check out his website, RyanMowinkle.com. That's Mowinkle. There is not a dramatic pause in the name of the website either. It's Ryan Mowinkle. 4 weekly champions facing off against each other. And for our first matchup, we have a story, Brendan, that you're not familiar with. You weren't here for the week that this was the champion. The Wingstop two-piece with a ranch and a side of hot grease. The Wingstop manager at Port St. Lucie, Florida, who tried to break up a brawl in her restaurant, first by throwing ranch at the combatants and then by throwing a bucket of hot grease at them.
Oh. All right.
Some of the people involved had shiny burnt skin as a result.
I love that REM album.
That story takes on Meth Cannon. The two gentlemen from Colorado who are outside a prison in Louisiana with one of the T-shirt guns that you use to shoot T-shirts out at like a minor league baseball game. And they were filling it with meth and cigs. $112 worth of, $112,000 worth of tobacco and $89,500 worth of meth that they were going to shoot into the correctional facility in Grant Parish, Louisiana, over the prison walls with a T-shirt gun. I mean, Meth Cannon wins, right? Like, I'm not crazy.
I mean, no, yeah, it definitely wins. I was sad that the story I picked had to go up against Meth Cannon.
Yeah, that's a tough round one draw. That's a brutal one. Dan and I were talking the other day about the Wichita State team that got a number 1 seed and had to play the best 8 ever in Kentucky. That's kind of what this feels like. Like, oh, yeah, you made it to the finals, semifinals. Okay, you get Meth Cannon. Damn, tough break.
Tough break. We have this week's, the short week winner. Bet this cop won't fight me at this 7-Eleven. Gentleman in Boston who accosted a transit officer, an MBTA transit officer, followed him into a 7-Eleven, loudly challenged him to a fight and asked him to buy him food, kept yelling, do something at him, poked his badge, and then ultimately, as we pointed out on yesterday's show, when you try to pick a fight with a police officer, you're really picking a fight with police officers.
Yeah.
They got what you don't, that is backup. And not only did he lose the fight, they were rounding him up. They found a bunch of fentanyl on him. So
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, he got an even bigger
That's
trouble.
what we call FAFO.
Yep.
The MAFO is the radio-friendly version.
Yes.
MAFO. Anyhow, that goes up against Fart Me Through the Phone, the 25-year-old woman in England who pled guilty of harassment after sending videos of herself farting to her ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend.
She sat on the phone and farted on it.
It was it was the first ever cyber farting case in Britain, and God willing, it will be the last. She proceeded to place the camera on her bottom and pass the gas. Yeah. And
it's not her ex-boyfriend's new partner. It's her current boyfriend's ex-partner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she's still with the guy. It's like, I hate your ex so much, I'm going to fart in her general direction.
Yep. She
held it right up to her butt.
She didn't think she should have gotten any trouble. She says we live in a snowflake generation. They've been together for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, how bad could this lady be? If it's bad enough you think you need to send her fart videos, just like call the police to come like hang out in front of your house.
Repeatedly sending videos of farting to a romantic rival of some kind, a rival of any kind.
Man, I'm picking this story. This is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm going with Fart Me Through the Phone.
Yeah, 4 really strong stories, but also I think 2 really obvious finalists here.
So, yeah.
We are set for a titanic matchup on tomorrow's February Championship on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by our guy Mo. Safe Farm agent Ryan Mowinkle. RyanMowinkle.com is the website. Go see what Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services can do for you. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we're talking to CJ Moore of The Athletic on the Big 12 Basketball Breakdown on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined in the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by the best college basketball feature writer in America. CJ Moore covers college hoops for The Athletic, theathletic.com. And he joins us every Thursday at this time for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. Follow CJ across social media at CJ Moore Hoops. CJ, KU fixed?
I think going in the right direction. I think the opponents probably helped, but I do think this is a team that when you really pull back and you start to look at it, you start to study it, like they were built around Hunter Dickinson. Hunter Dickinson has to be good for them to be good. And when he's efficient and when he plays with energy and he plays hard, and some other guys start to make some shots, they're not a bad basketball team. They're not elite like they've been in the past, but they're solid. So step in the right direction. Let's see what happens over these last 3 games, because those are tough 3 ones. Those are 3 tough ones. I can't talk right now. Those are 3 tough ones. And so starting on Saturday, we'll start to see. And hey, I'll be in the building. Probably right about it.
Dickinson was awesome at Colorado Monday night, and that's a matchup that he should have taken advantage of. They don't quite have the post players that match up with him, but then again, nobody really matches up great with a 7'2" All-American. I thought the thing that was most encouraging maybe from that performance from Dickinson was it looked like his touch around the rim had returned a little bit. It has boggled the mind how poorly he has finished in close.
Absolutely.
In some recent games. If he can just find that touch again, he doesn't need to be like, he's no longer, it seems, the 3-point shooter that it looked like he could be a couple of those years at Michigan. But he can make you guard him from 15 feet or at least be automatic on those little baby hooks. That really changes how prolific, I guess, KU can be offensively, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think he had the yips. He had the yips a little bit, like around the basket, and maybe I might use this in my story Saturday. So, but I'll go ahead and try the line out on you. Happy learned how to putt again, like it's like that type of thing. Like it seems like he learned how to make layups again, and that's very helpful because Bill Self teams are always designed to throw it to the post, and it works a lot better when that guy makes the shots right at the basket. So they've been able to get those post pin type actions to him, and he's been able to finish them, and that helps.
Talking to CJ Moore of The Athletic, joining us for the Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Go check out all of CJ's phenomenal work over at The Athletic, theathletic.com. The wing play for KU has obviously been under the microscope all year, and deservedly so. It hasn't quite clicked all the way for Rylan Griffin. We have documented many times on this program, CJ, that things with AJ Storr have not really gone as well as we would have hoped if you're KU. What does Kansas need out of Griffin in particular here in these final 3 games? Like you mentioned, 3 really good opponents. You've got Texas Tech, Arizona, Houston, not in that order, but those are the 3 opponents. What does KU need out of Rylan Griffin to win, let's say, 2 of the 3?
He just needs to make shots. I mean, you go back to honestly, their Houston game was probably their best performance all season. That's a game that they basically won and then somehow lost. And he made 5 of 6 threes that day. He was awesome. And like when he makes shots, that's what they need. That's why they paid him to come to Kansas. On top of that, just play halfway decent defense. And, the thing that I thought killed them the other day on Colorado got a ton of offensive boards is I thought not only did the bigs probably not rebound to the level they need to, but I thought the guards did kind of a crappy job of rebounding too. And just, box outs weren't there, that kind of stuff. So if he could grab a couple more back rebounds and box out a little better, that helped too. But mainly, like, his job is to make shots.
Looking around the Big 12, CJ, Houston's going to win the league again. It'll be the 2nd straight year. I believe right now they are 31-4 in the Big 12 since they joined the league last season, and have really kind of grabbed the league by the throat a little bit in their first 2 years under Kelvin Sampson. And you laid this out. You wrote about this in The Athletic of what they've done and what they've accomplished in conference play going back to their last few years in the American and how dominant they were in that league. And they're doing all of this having really had only one lottery pick in this stretch. Jarris Walker's the only guy that's been taken in the lottery. Do you see a scenario where the high school recruiting maybe starts to catch up to the level of winning that they've been doing at Houston, and they start getting those guys who are like the obvious, no doubt NBA players into that program moving forward? Because to me, that's about the only thing that they haven't done. They've won, they've turned out pros, they've made deep tournament runs, they're dominating the conference in the last 2 years. But if they start getting those 4 or 5-star freshmen, that could make them even scarier, it feels like.
Well, I mean, go look at their recruiting class they got coming in. It's happening. They got a 5-star big kid, and they've got a couple of guards that I think are 4 stars. One of them's like borderline 5-star. So it's happened. Like this class they have coming in, I think is their, as far as this ratings go, is probably their best class they've ever had.
We were talking about this on the show yesterday. I think for the better part of the last decade, 2 decades and a half, really the century. Let's just call it the century. If the question were, what program in the Big 12 is best set up for near-term success over like the next 5 years, following every Big 12 season? If you ask that question, who's the best setup for success? Kansas would have likely always been the first program off of everyone's tongue. And this is not to suggest that Kansas is not in good shape for the next 5 years. Certainly they've got a recruiting class to be excited about and a great coach, a Hall of Fame coach in Bill Self. They're not going anywhere. But does it feel like programs like Houston, with the success they've had, with what they are doing on the recruiting trail, with what BYU has done as far as their recruiting and their commitment to NIL and the offense they're running, they look so modern when they play with some of the offense they run, a little more NBA-like with what they run. Does it feel like there are other programs that are maybe positioning themselves to take the lead in the Big 12 here for the next couple of years?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I would probably still put Kansas really, really high up on that list and maybe right at the top. But there's not really a gap. Like it's not Kansas gap and then so and so and so and so. I mean, Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech, BYU, maybe Baylor are not far behind and like right there. Iowa State with TJ is in a pretty good spot now. They don't have the NIL infrastructure that those other programs have. I think they're pretty far behind in NIL compared to those guys. You know, Houston's not like I don't think Houston's way up there either. But you know, Arizona, Texas Tech, BYU, Kansas, Baylor, I feel like have all pretty invested in NIL, and that's what matters right now is what you got there, and then you know history obviously matters and who your coach is. So I still think Kansas is up there. I think Kansas has just kind of dropped the ball these last couple of years on who they're recruiting and who they've gone off after in the portal. But I still think the program is in a there's no coaches out there crying for Kansas. Like,
right.
They're just kind of confused what's happened. Like when I talk to coaches across the country and they know I live in Kansas City and, you know, went to Kansas, the question that always comes up is, man, what's going on with Kansas? Like, because they're surprised this is happening because they know they have all the resources.
Let me tell you this, CJ, as someone who also went to KU and now lives in Kansas, but is from a different state, all of my friends back home ask me the same question. So I'm in the same boat as you.
We're talking to CJ Moore of The Athletic here on the Big 12 basketball breakdown on 580 Sports Talk. CJ, Utah fired their head coach. Trey Smith is on the outs, apparently beating KU and K-State back-to-back. Not super impressive. That's not the kind of thing that beating Kansas, not the kind of thing that saves your job anymore in the Big 12, I guess. So Trey Smith got fired. You and others have written that this is very likely a preemptive strike for Utah, that they have looked maybe at BYU and what they have done and decided that, hey, if we're going to get to a championship level, we've got to maybe do things a little bit like how BYU is doing, though nobody at Utah would ever admit that. What direction do you think Utah is going to go with their program and with their next hire?
Yeah, I think they're going to go hire somebody with NBA connections that also has connections to that school. Alex Jensen's the name that's really floating out there. former Utah player who I believe now is a assistant with the Dallas Mavericks. So I think that's the direction they want to go. But if you want to follow the BYU model, great, go get yourself an NBA coach. But you also have to spend the money. Like, you have to have your donors got to be ready to pony up. And BYU, man, did they pony up as far as NIL goes. There's a reason they're getting the number one player in the class next year. It's because they're spending a ton of money. So if BYU wants to do that, then they got to be willing to spend. And what kind of sucks is, like, Craig Smith didn't have a chance because he's done a fine. I think he's done an okay job the last couple of years. They would probably be an NCAA tournament team this year if they had just held on to their point guard, Devon Smith, who went to St. John's. And the reason he left is because he wasn't getting, he could go get a bunch more NIL money. So that's what's kind of frustrating. Like, they didn't give him a chance. And, I had somebody float this the other day. Why they might have made that move when they did is they were worried he was going to win too many games here at the end and actually justify or make it so it looked like they should keep him. And then they didn't even give him that chance. They just, went ahead and got rid of him right after they lost the UCF game. Like, oh, this is convenient, but pretty crummy timing on their part. Like, why not let him coach out the rest of the season? That was messed up.
Couple more questions for CJ Moore of The Athletic, joining us for the Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. He does it every Thursday at this time during the Big 12 season via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. While we're talking all this about BYU, I love watching them play, CJ. They're a lot of fun. They've got a lot of fun players. They don't even have AJ Dibansa yet, who I think is going to be a really, really good college basketball player for his one season next year. What feels like the ceiling for this BYU team? They're obviously a tournament team this year. They play a fun style. We know they can fill it up. Does this feel like, Final Four dark horse kind of team, or just like maybe a fun couple of tournament games and that's about it?
They could lose in the first round. They could lose in the second. They could lose in the Sweet 16. They could make it all the Final Four. Like, there's a lot of different outcomes for them, I think, in the NCAA tournament. I think they're not like upset proof, but they also have a chance to really, really go on a run if they shoot the ball well. That'll be the key. The keys will be how well do they shoot the ball and, like, how well is Igor Dimon playing? Because when he's really good and, like, not turning the ball over, they're pretty dang good. But the nice thing is when he's a little off, they can put Dallin Hall on the floor and they don't have much of a drop off because he's a really good point guard too. And I think he led the Big 12 in assists last year and he comes off the bench now. So it's a fun team, but there's many different outcomes for them that wouldn't surprise me.
Houston is obviously a national championship contender. They were dance picked to win the national championship when the college basketball season started. They're great again. We've talked about them already today. Who would you say, CJ, your personal belief, would have the second best odds to win a national title out of the Big 12 this year? Iowa State or Texas Tech?
I would say if they're both totally healthy. Now that's a big shift because both teams have had those problems. Maybe Texas Tech's ceiling's a little higher. I don't think either of them could win 6 in a row in the NCAA tournament. I think I could see either of them getting, both having a chance to get to the Final Four, but I'd maybe say Texas Tech just because of the firepower of that offense. But, Iowa State is kind of the more complete team when you go look at offense and defensive balance, so it's tough to say. But I'll lean Texas Tech. But honestly, the team that I'd say outside of Houston might have the best. We're probably not talking. Probably be Arizona.
Oh.
I might go Arizona as the team with the best chance to make a Final Four. That's not Houston. I could maybe even make an argument for Arizona over Houston too. Like I think if that team plays at their highest ceiling, they've got some dudes.
Yeah, that slow start really, I think, took a lot of national spotlight off of them, but they've been really dang good down the stretch. One really quick one outside the Big 12, CJ. We ask you about him all the time, but he's a former D2 coach, and we cover D2 programs, so obviously have a connection there. 1 year for Ben McCollum at Drake, and his team wins the Valley. How incredible, but how impressive of a feat is that with a bunch of guys who are good players, but were playing in the MIAA a season ago?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because you guys know this. Like, you guys study the MIAA, you've seen his teams. This isn't one of his best teams.
Nope.
This isn't his most talented group. Like, this is probably one of his least talented groups. And they're 16-3 in the Missouri Valley. Who, let's see, where are they conference wise? I think last I looked, they're 11th best conference in the country. So this man just took 4 of his D2 players and added a couple transfers and went and won the 11th best league in the country by with a couple games to go. It's a pretty incredible coaching job he's done. I think it's becoming clear. I've been screaming it here for a while, but people are finally picking it up that, like, Ben McCollum is a really good basketball coach. I'm guessing his time at Drake it's a one and done. We'll see. Ben is really, really picky and if he leaves for another job, he's going to want to make sure it's a place where he can win and those kinds of things. But he will have opportunities this spring, I would think.
CJ Moore covers college basketball for The Athletic. You can find him on socials at CJ Moore Hoops, and he joins us every Thursday on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. CJ, always a pleasure talking ball with you. We'll do it again next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
That is CJ Moore. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk after this. Our thanks again to CJ Moore of The Athletic for joining us for our Big 12 basketball breakdown. If you missed the conversation or anything we do here on 580 Sports Talk, remember you can find our podcast on Spotify by searching for 580 Sports Talk, hour-by-hour breakdowns of the show every single day posted to the 580 Sports Talk podcast on Spotify. Also to our website, 580wibw.com.
One quick thing to know, we talked at the top of the show about Trey Smith getting the franchise tag and what's it going to look like in terms of the financials. From Spotrac and their editor, Michael Giannitti, who we've had on the show before, said quick cap fixes for the Chiefs this offseason. I put this on Twitter a little bit ago. Convert Mahomes' salary to signing bonus, his roster bonus to signing bonus. That saves you $25.8 million right there.
Oh, Trey Smith, done.
Yeah. Convert Chris Jones's roster bonus to signing bonus. That's 12. Kelsey's roster bonus to signing bonus is 10. You can do some stuff with Joe Thuney. I don't think they want to extend Thuney at this point. That's what he suggests there. But yeah, you just do it with Mahomes. And again, it doesn't matter with Mahomes. He's going to get a new deal eventually anyway.
Yeah, and he'll do it. He understands how important having an offensive line is. That's going to do it for Brendan today. He's on his way to Skinny Sports Bar and Grill for the Washburn Basketball Coaches Show, airing from 6 to 7 on our sister station, your home for the Ichabods, Country 106.9. Me and Spencer have you the rest of the way, so stay with us. We've got one more hour tonight of 580 Sports Talk on WIBW. Let's get it. Third and final hour of the day on 580 Sports Talk on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And a special hello to those who are joining us via our video stream. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, or on Facebook at WIBW News. If you've never done either of those things, you should give it a shot. Jump into the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can also text the show today, 785-272-9429. Great to have you along for one more hour of the show today. I am Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is now across the glass. Brendan Dworzinski is on his way to the Washburn Basketball Coaches Show tonight. That will start at 6 o'clock over on our sister station, your exclusive home of the Ichabods, Country 106.9. Out at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill, the corner of Huntoon and Gage, where every day is game day. Brendan will speak with Laura Westling and Brett Ballard coming off of their games at Pitt State, looking ahead to the regular season finales for the Ichabod men and women coming up on Saturday at Missouri Southern. I will duck out with a little bit of show left to go as well. I am headed off to do some high school basketball tonight. The 580 Preps Road to a Championship begins tonight. We have 2A boys sub-state first round action in the Valley Heights sub-state, and it's sub-state number 1 in the Valley Heights sub-state. The number 8 seed, Care Paravel Lions, playing host to the number 9 seed, the Jackson Heights Cobras. Myself and Larry Latimer will have the broadcast from Care Paravel tonight. That is coming up with pregame coverage at around 6:40, 6:45, give or take. And then we'll have the tip-off for you at 7 o'clock from Care Paravel. It is our first time ever broadcasting Care Paravel basketball. So
I have a question. As a guy that doesn't know a lot about Kansas high school sports, because I haven't done a lot.
Sure.
So the playoffs don't all start at the same time? Because tomorrow's a regular season game, right?
That's right. So some classes are bigger than others, right?
Okay.
So you've got class 6A, 5A, 4A, I believe, are all 34 schools. And in 3A and 2A, you have 64. And then I don't remember the exact divisions in 1A1 and 1A2. We don't have, other than Burlingame and Linden, we don't have a lot in the area as far as schools that we cover that are 1A schools. And I think Linden's might be just 1A for football, 8-man for football. They might be still 2A for basketball. Again, I can't claim to know that off the top of my head right as I'm sitting here. But so next week is when 6A, 5A, 4A start their substates. But the substates always started a little bit earlier because you got to get from 64 down to 8.
Makes sense.
Instead of just getting from 32, because only 32 teams. There are a couple teams get squeezed out of the big school sub-state rounds. They don't play a sub-state game. But everybody, all the other classes, and then there are some sub-states in 1A where they don't have enough teams to fill a bracket. I think there are some with like 14 teams. So you got some buys in there. But and teams that maybe drop their programs or forfeit out or whatever it might be. But yes, so tonight, I think 1A's already started. If I remember right, let me I can go double check that. Go look at the sub-state assignments. So there were quarterfinal games in 1A on Monday and Tuesday, and semifinal games for them will be on Saturday and Monday. But for 2A and 3A, you've got quarterfinal games today and tomorrow. Boys in 2A, girls in 3A tonight. And then tomorrow night, girls in 2A, boys in 3A. Semifinals Tuesday, Wednesday, championships Friday, Saturday. For 4A, 5A, 6A, Tuesday, Wednesday, first round game, semifinals effectively, and then championships Friday and Saturday. So everybody finishes at the same time. But yeah, you got to start the postseason a little bit early for those classes that have more schools.
Makes sense. I was unaware.
There you go. Now everyone is clear on the subject. That's why we have a playoff game tonight and a regular season game tomorrow night, and our 580 Preps game of the week, our regular season finale tomorrow night. And it's going to be awesome at the Birdcage tomorrow night at Shawnee Heights. Shawnee Heights and Seaman. the rivalry already worth the price of admission. The two teams could be a combined, 0 for the season, and it would still be electric. Shawnee Heights versus Seaman, but all of the teams are really good. Like you have Seaman, the defending champs. Seaman boys and Shawnee Heights boys are both ranked. Seaman girls defending champs on a 25-game winning streak. Their last loss to Shawnee Heights in the regular season last year. So, it's going to be two awesome games. That's tomorrow night, starting with pregame at about 5:30. You know how those can be a little bit malleable on a Friday night for our 580 Preps Game of the Week coverage. But tonight, a road to the championship begins. Care Paravel, Jackson Heights, right here, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, and online at 580WIBW.com.
You know what's not murky about start times? Playoffs.
That's right.
Playoffs always start at the time they're going to say they're going to start.
That's true. 7 o'clock tonight. They're going to tip that sucker up right around 7:02 after they probably run down the clock, do the anthem, the lineups, and bang, go. Yeah, you love that. It's not like, and you know this too, because you're a hockey guy. And if you like to watch a hockey game, especially if your team happens to be playing on the West Coast, where on the channel guide, oh, sweet, 8:30 puck drop, 8:30. That's when the hockey game is going to start. And then it will show actual puck drop, 8:58. I'm like, what? Infuriating if you root for a West Coast team. You don't, I do. But
it's okay. I was infuriated. I talked about this the other day on the show about ABC on Saturday.
Yeah, they don't.
They pushed it back.
Right.
And then they couldn't push it back again.
The broadcast windows are not big enough. College basketball games don't take 2 hours. You cannot start a game at 12 and then say, and we're going to catch the tip-off of the game at 2 o'clock. Never happens. That's the only reason they haven't shuttered ESPN News.
Well, yeah. Did you see the whole thing? You're not on the Everything app X, but there's a viral post going on Monday that said ESPN News should change their name to ESPN Start because the slogan should be where you catch the first half of your game.
Right. Yeah. You get to the under 12 TV timeout. All your games are on either ESPN Plus or ESPN News or ESPN U. I
hate doing that because I can't remember who it was. Somebody was on there. Was it KU or K-State over the weekend? Maybe it was KU.
It was KU.
I had to go to ESPN News or ESPN U, I think it was, or something. But then they switched it, and I was busy doing something, and I was putting stuff away, and all of a sudden
you missed the switch.
All I hear is the cutaway, and then it's like into a different program.
Yeah.
It's like some random program about college.
Honestly, this is the best thing you can do about this if you have a smart TV. Just go watch it on the app.
That's
just
true.
when the game's about to tip, it will give you the option to watch it on ESPN3, which is basically just going to be a continuous feed of the game.
That's nice.
So, yeah, that's what I would recommend. That's your pro tip if you're a college basketball viewer and you're tired of having to hunt for, man, I got to remember what ESPNU is. It's 244 on Cox. I finally got it memorized. I don't know all the other channels. Usually what I do is if I scroll through and there's nothing on the main sports channels, I enter 243 because I know that's FS2. And then all of the other, channels that I pay extra for in the sports package are all down there, NFL Network, MLB Network, all that. And I'll just scroll from there.
Yeah.
But now I finally remember 244.
So that
is ESPNU.
That post, I quoted it wrong. They were saying the slogan should be your exclusive home for the first half of the game you actually want to watch.
That is super true. That is so true. I remember when ESPN News
I've never related to a post more than that.
Like ESPN News used to really be like what it said on the tin. It was like Sports Center for 24 hours. And I kind of dug that. And then like they rerun like Around the Horn at 7 p.m. or whatever it was. And now really like they just do ESPN the Ocho stuff every other day. Like I'll flip it over there and they'll be showing wiffle ball.
The only thing I don't like is their screen isn't the full screen.
Yeah. It's not a great picture.
No,
it's a ghost ship. But yeah, you can always catch the first 4 minutes of the game you actually want to watch over there on ESPN News. Anyhow, let's get into some 580 Sports Talk headlines. We're going to talk Royals in a little bit, but we want to talk about some 580 Sports Talk headlines. We're going to start with a local story about the golfer I like to call the professional sports franchise of Topeka, Kansas, Gary Woodland. The headline for PGAtour.com, Gary Woodland, PGA Tour Courage Award winner, rising in 2025. He has been named the recipient of the PGA Tour's Courage Award. Of course, from around here, you certainly have heard Gary Woodland's story as he had to have brain surgery back in September of 2023, returned to the PGA Tour in 2024, didn't play particularly great last year. The story on PGAtour.com details how much he was still struggling with the recovery from the brain surgery, battling headaches and overstimulation and things like that. He has started to manage those things much better and is off to a really good start in 2025. 3 top 25 finishes already this year. And that may not sound like much for a former major champion, but that matches his total from all of last season. And here we are, not even to March yet. He has T16 at the Sony Open in Hawaii, a T22 at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and a T21 at the Phoenix Open. So starting to play some better golf. There's some great quotes in here from guys like Justin Thomas and Keegan Bradley who say that they know that the ability is still there for the now 40-year-old Gary Woodland. And it's just about being able to manage the pain and get back to feeling like himself physically on the golf course. Apparently, he is also featured at length in the new season of Full Swing, the Netflix documentary on life on the PGA Tour. So
yeah, I'm gonna tune into some of that tonight. So
yeah, if you want to watch, it's season 3 is out, right?
Yeah, it just dropped yesterday.
Yeah, so he does feature heavily in season 3, or at least feature in part in season 3 of Full Swing on Netflix. So a great story. In fact, we have a listener who texted in, and the text line 785-272-9429. It's episode 6 of season 3 of Full Swing that has a lot about Gary Woodland and apparently some shots of Topeka in the episode as well. So yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely watch that one. I loved season 1. I never got a chance to watch season 2. So it's a funny thing that happens when you have children. You just stop watching TV regularly. You got to you really pick your spots with the TV. You know, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think of. You hadn't even had your kid yet, too, when the last season came out.
We were in preparation.
Yes,
let's say that.
Yeah,
we were preparing.
But I was last season was the one, if I remember correctly, the one where they openly were talking about all the changes in the PGA.
Mm-hmm.
After the first one was like, oh, it's just crazy, we get an inside look. Then the next one was like, this is actually serious stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. Awesome honor for Gary Woodland. There was this on X from X user at Tom Watson PGA. To my fellow Cans and Gary Woodland, who has fought a very tough fight, you are very deserved of our tour's Courage Award, and that hole-in-one you made at the Masters Par 3 last year will forever be imprinted in my 2 grandsons' memories. So a lot of people rooting for the professional sports franchise of Topeka, Kansas. Gary Woodland and the 580 Sports Talk crew is certainly included in that. Next headline, Spencer.
Yes, we finally, a week ago, we got a rough estimate, or 2 weeks ago, we got a rough estimate of the NFL cap, but from ESPN.com, the NFL sets 2025 salary cap at record $279.2 million per team. That was from league spokesperson Brian McCarthy announcing it's an increase of $23.8 million per team. Last year's salary cap was $255.4 million per team, and it went up more. We had discussed this on the show that it was going up more than they had anticipated. So the 279.2 is more than they had even anticipated. Although, if I remember correctly, it was the low range of what they put out, what that report was last week. I think it was 279 to 281 was a report last week.
Yeah. 277 to 282.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, some kind of window like that. It's amazing to look at it year over year. And obviously the salary cap was really exploding in the late 2010s as the league received more revenue from their TV partners. And then it went from 198 million in 2020 to 182 million in 2021. Why? Did something happen? And then the year after that, it went way up again. And again, it's the reason the salary cap goes up is because the revenue of the league goes up. And the reason the revenue of the league goes up is because you have more TV partners who are paying even more money. The cap has gone in 2021 from 182.5 to 208.2 to 224.8 to 255.3 $274, and now up another nearly $24 million next year to $279.2.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be 300 probably close to next year.
Yeah, I mean, if it continues to increase at this rate, yeah, we're going to get to 300 next year.
I mean, I think a safe bet's 295 next year, and then we get to 300 in a year after that.
I think it's going to be higher.
I totally forgot that 2010 was an uncapped season.
So, yeah.
Like they didn't allow, because what was that during that was during the lockout year? Or before the lockout year?
What was the lockout year? I don't remember.
I don't know, but I remember they had an uncapped year now.
Yeah, 2010 was the uncapped year. Yeah.
And it's an NA, and it was like, there was.
Yeah.
It's crazy that in 1994, it was $34 million.
They're like every starting quarterback worth a damn makes more money per year than the league salary cap was in 1994.
That's crazy.
That doesn't feel like it was that long ago,
No.
But then you look at a graphic like this, you go, oh, actually, it was that long ago. Speaking of the NFL, we have to get to this headline.
We do, and I didn't think it was real, and then I heard the man himself speak today, one of them, and I said, oh, this is actually real.
From Pro Football Talk, Jordan Schultz verbally accosted Ian Rappaport at a Starbucks in Indianapolis. We've got source beef. We got in the NFL. Jordan Schultz of Fox and Ian Rappaport of NFL Media engaged in a verbal altercation on Wednesday afternoon at the Starbucks at the JW Marriott in Indianapolis. So what happened, there was that story yesterday about Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford in a ski resort
in Montana.
In Montana, yeah. They ran into each other. That was how Ian Rappaport posed the story, that it was a chance meeting between a quarterback who might get traded and a guy who's a minority owner of a team that needs a quarterback.
That's allegedly been the pseudo GM.
Jordan Schultz was a little passive-aggressive about it on social media and said, yeah, if you think that was a chance meeting, I got a bridge to sell you, or something to that effect. Anyway, apparently that was the final straw in terms of some hostilities and some uncomfortableness there has been between the two NFL reporters for a while, and that Schultz ran up on Rappaport at the Starbucks and said something to the along the lines of, if you've got anything to say it to me, say it to my bleeping face. And if this happens again, we're going to have a bleeping problem. I can't imagine anything less intimidating than an NFL reporter saying that to me. Unless
apparently he was talking to an agent too.
Yeah, he interrupted Rappaport with an agent to get in his face and issue these threats. The only NFL writer I would take those threats seriously from is Jay Glazer. Because you know he works out with the USA.
Yeah.
Like Jay Glazer's nice with the hands. I guarantee you. This is also how I learned this story, that Jordan Schultz's dad is Howard Schultz.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz. If my dad owned a Starbucks, I would not be wasting my life as the 6th or 7th most prominent scoops guy on the NFL beat. I would just be riding jet skis every day of my life. If my dad owned Starbucks, ran all Starbucks, you would never know who I was. I would be coasting on rich kid privilege my entire life. I almost respect that Jordan Schultz is so married to the scoops man life that he's out there doing this.
And it was at a Starbucks at a hotel.
Yeah, and the fact that the thing happened at a Starbucks makes it funnier. Does he get a special power up, home court advantage for Jordan Schultz in this? Wild story. Only at the scouting combine. And again, I'm just baffled that the guy for Fox, who's their backup to their backup NFL scoops guy, his dad was the Starbucks CEO. Remember when he tried to run for president for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Nobody took him seriously. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. Take some of your dad's money and just chill. It's got to be an easier life than staying awake 19 hours a day and having 3 phones and trying to be the first to tweet stuff like the Chiefs will franchise tag Trey Smith.
Yeah. couple things I want to say about this story. I read this last night and I legit thought it was fake because the guy that posted about it is a Barstool Sports guy.
PFT commenter had it first.
PFT commenter had it first. I thought it was just like a joke, like maybe it was some kind of joke. And then today, Ian Rappaport was walking by the Pat McAfee show set when he had Rich Eisen on and Daniel Jeremiah. And Rich Eisen made a big thing. He said, come here, come on, talk. So he said, yeah, about that article from Florio is everything's about correct. And I didn't think it was real. Like, I thought it was fake.
Crazy. Get over yourselves, guys. We're going to take a break. That'll do it for headlines. Really interesting question from the text line from the 785. Spencer's going to handle that in a little bit. I want to talk Royals real quick. Interesting article I thought about Lucas Erceg. We'll talk more about the salary cap as well in the NFL. And that's coming up as we wrap up 580 Sports Talk with this final hour. Quick word for my friends at Great Life Topeka. That snow's starting to melt. Golf season just around the corner. You want to be a Great Life member for the golf privileges you get as a member. Free greens fees. The higher up you go on the membership tent pole, the more goodies you get, like free range balls or free time in the bays at Top City Golf North. Go to greatlifetopeka.com. See the benefits of being a Great Life golf member like I am. Royals lose in spring training day. They're on a losing streak now. 2 straight defeats. They get thumped by the Brewers today, 12-5. Tough day for the pitching staff, although if Thomas Hatch and Ross Stripling are throwing innings for the Royals this season, it's probably not a great sign. Maikel Garcia walked twice, stole 2 bases, drove in a run. Bobby Witt Jr. hit his first home run of the spring. Not much else to say about this one. I did think this was interesting. Ann Rogers had a piece about Lucas Erceg at Royals.com. And this snippet from it jumped out to me. He emphasized, Erceg, with the Royals then and continues to now, that he doesn't mind what role he's in. He just wants to pitch meaningful innings. That's what the Royals plan on having the 29-year-old righty do again this year, deploying him in the biggest spots in the highest of leverage. That might save opportunities, or it might come in the 7th or the 8th. Having Estevez helps Quatrero be able to do that. That is, of course, Carlos Estevez, who hasn't yet made his Royal spring training debut with the back soreness that he's dealing with, but hopefully that's something he can get past and be ready for opening day. If you remember Lucas Erceg's first Royals appearance, I believe it actually came in the 6th inning of a game. It was against the Tigers. It was a close game. There were 2 on and 2 out, and Erceg came in to put out a fire and got the guy out that he was supposed to get out. And the Royals would then, in the 7th inning, I think they batted around that next inning and blew the game open, and then there was no need to use Erceg for more outs or use the other high leverage arms in the game. The big moment came, and Erceg got the out. And then there were no more big moments than that. I like flexibility in bullpen use. I don't like the rigid deployment of relievers sometimes. I think that there are arguments for it. I think that it can certainly help certain guys if they know, for example, that Greg Holland is working the 9th, and Wade Davis has the 8th, and Kelvin Herrera has the 7th, and Aaron Crow's inning is the 6th, and all of those things. Like Ned Yost's model of bullpen management, there has its pros and cons. I think, though, that it is best if you have a reliever who can handle it, and not all relievers can, but I think Erceg can. If you have a pitcher that's okay mentally knowing that, hey, they might need me in the 6th tonight, or they might need me in the 9th, or they might need me in the 8th. They might need me for a clean inning. They might need me with runners on, but whatever happens, I'm going to go out and be the Terminator. I'm going to go out and put the fire out. That's not an easy role. Erceg will deploy him, getting him in the game earlier. Well, number one, it gives you a chance to put the game in a spot where there isn't a save situation with your offense. But number two, you've got a guy like Carlos Estevez, who has been an all-star closer, to finish off games and still feel really good about what's coming in behind your best reliever. Really like to hear that and to see that from Matt Quatrero. We're going to take a quick break. I'm out of here. I'm going out to Care Paravel for some 2A boys sub-state basketball tonight. Care Paravel versus Jackson Heights. Pregame at 6:40, tip-off at 7 o'clock. Spencer's got you the rest of the way. Going to talk NFL salary cap and more. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk.
The youngest in command movement here on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis taking you the rest of the way up to 6 o'clock, and then have a little Dave Ramsey action until you hear Dan Lucero and the coach Larry Latimer on the call at Care Paravel for a playoff contest tonight, beginning around 6:45. But let's talk ball. We'll get some AMAs in here. You can shoot the text line 785-272-9429, or you can send them on the YouTube live stream. We've got probably about 12, 13 minutes left in this segment. We'll get them later on. Couple things. We talked the other day about Travis Kelce not retiring, but like Andy Reid kind of was very, but obviously Brett Veach said he was coming back. Well, a media member, former player, actually shot the text, told Travis Kelce, and he read it on the air of his show today. We'll play back that audio. We'll discuss the salary cap and what it means for the Chiefs. We'll also discuss the question that was sent in from the 785. What is the opinion on who is helped most by the salary cap, the big increase? We'll discuss that. Much more Chiefs and NFL here on 580 Sports Talk. First, let's discuss Travis Kelce. So obviously, Andy Reid's obviously we go back a ways. He said in media availability, the media night, the opening night, where any media member can come on and decide to ask a question. He was asked where he sees himself in 3 years. He said playing football for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the game happened, and he didn't look right. He didn't seem like he was himself. He didn't like the way he played. And then immediately after the Wednesday edition of New Heights, just about 3 weeks ago, he basically kind of made it sound like he was retiring, right? Like Dan, myself, and Brendan, I think we're in agreement on it. Basically kind of, well, I guess Dan and I, Brendan was out that week. We were kind of in agreement that it sounded like he was like 90% retired and maybe deciding to come back. Well, there's been rumors the last couple of weeks, and then finally we got to hear from Andy Reid, Brett Veach. Andy Reid spoke first on, I think it was Tuesday. Yes, it was Tuesday, and he was kind of non-committal about if Kelce was coming back, but then Veach very committal about coming back. Well, the one, the only Pat McAfee show on ESPN. He sent old Travis Kelce a text because obviously they're buddies. They've been on each other's shows before. So this is courtesy of ESPN and the Pat McAfee show. Let's play this audio.
Brett Veach.
And there you have it. We got even more evidence that Travis Kelce will be back for the Chiefs this year. And guess what? He wants to get in the best shape he's ever been in his entire life. And you know what? I don't blame him. Like, look, last summer was kind of a fairy tale of a summer, right? Like last offseason, he was everywhere with Taylor Swift. He was popping up in Europe. He was popping up on stage, he was popping up in stadiums across the world, and then he was shooting the Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity, and he was shooting that show with Niecy Nash, and it felt like, were we questioning his maybe his loveness, how much he loved football. Maybe we were, but also he was enjoying his life last year. I think he's going to enjoy his life, but obviously Taylor Swift isn't touring. So maybe he's going to live a more low-key offseason than he has in the last couple of seasons, and I think that could be good for him. Come back rejuvenated, get ready, continue to help Rashee Rice, help Xavier Worthy, and just do the things that you continue to do. And, I mean, yeah, his play dropped off when it comes to the yardage, right? Not nearly yardage and touchdowns that we saw. But, it didn't drop off, and we were all thinking it would drop off based on the first few weeks of the season. How many catches he has. Yeah, he's not going to run that much after the catch, right? But this is a normal decline. This is a normal decline for a player. We'll go back to 2018. 2018, 103 catches, 1,336 yards. He averaged 13 a pop. He had 10 touchdowns. Then in 2019, 97 catches, 1,229 yards, just a little bit lower, 0.3 lower yards per catch of 12.7. And he had 5 touchdowns, so about half there. And then the COVID season, he had 105 catches, 1,416 yards, 13.5 a catch, and 11 touchdowns. So he basically, COVID year, he almost had the best year of his career. Minus catches, which were, at the time, he had the best of his career. And at the time, he had the most touchdowns in his career. Then you went to 2021, a little bit lower, 92 catches, 1,125 yards, 12.2 a pop. That decreased. 9 touchdowns. 2022, 110 catches, career best 110 catches. 1,338 yards, 12.2 a pop, so he stayed the same from where he was the year before. Didn't get better, didn't get worse. 12 touchdowns, career best. So career best catches, career best touchdowns in 2022. Then he goes and has 93 catches, which he's put up 67, 72, 85, 83, 103, 97, 105, 92, 110, now 93. Could have gotten 1,000 yards. Was selfless, didn't get 1,000 yards, had 984. 5 touchdowns that season. Then in 2024, 97 catches, so improved by 4 catches, even though we thought the sky was falling after 2 or 3 weeks. I will admit, I thought the sky was falling for Travis Kelce after 2 or 3 weeks, that he wasn't going to be the same guy. Well, we know he wasn't the same guy when it came to yards. He's getting older. He had that injury in 2023. Obviously, I think the yards are going to go. He had that knee injury to start the season in 2023. Or was it? No, it was 2023. And I think that might have had something to do with it. He's aging, right? He turned 35 this last season. I still think he can be a big factor. 97 catches. He is Mahomes' go-to guy, and he still is. It showed. It showed this year that he's still his go-to guy. And I think that he could still, the best years of his career, not the best years, the best teammate years, the funnest years maybe of his career could still be ahead of him. Because guess what? The cap went up. We're going to transition now to talk about the cap. $279.5 million or $279.5 million is the cap number for this year, right? Well, Chiefs are going to move things around. They did something unexpected today. That's not officially. It's been reported that they will, by Ian Rappaport, by Adam Schefter, by all the guys, all the local guys, Pete Sweeney. He can confirm that they were put the non-exclusive tag. So they're going to put the franchise tag on Trey Smith. To me, that's like, we know we're going to be close, but also we've got other things to work out. We want a long-term deal. We're going to give him the 23 and a half, nearly $1 million that he's going to, maybe, if we have to. He's worth it. They know he's worth it. He is legitimately a top 7, I'd say top 5 guard in the league right now. And he's worth it. And I think they're just trying to use this wiggle room to get a long-term contract going where he makes 22.3 a year, 23 21.9 a year. Does he reset the guard market? Perhaps. I mean, obviously this would reset the guard market in AAV, but I don't think it comes to 23.4 mil AAV when it's all said and done and he signs a contract extension. I think that's good. It's good that he's been franchised because he's going to come back, right? The salary cap bump, I think, was higher. I think they thought it was going to sit around $275 million, and they were a little weary. Obviously, the top AAV for a guard right now is Landon Dickerson of the Eagles at 21. He's clearing 21. No way he doesn't clear 21. I think he by far clears 21. We got a question from the text line earlier on. What team, in my opinion, is helped most by the big increase? The Chiefs, right? They didn't anticipate to have this much money. They anticipated to probably have to cut bait with somebody. And you can maybe try to sneak a deal. You're gonna look at Patrick's contract, and you're gonna redo it once again. Maybe you try to redo Travis's contract, make it a bonus, try to do something where it helps him get the money, but it doesn't actually do it now. I think the Chiefs are most helped by this because I think they're going to be able to sign Nick Bolton. They're going to be able to sign Trey Smith of their guys. I think Justin Reed might walk out the door, but that's because he's got a big market. Safeties that play the way that they do, and special teams value as well. Some teams value that. He obviously kicked a little bit, but I think the Chiefs win the salary cap. Then, in my opinion, have the best spot. I mean, it doesn't help that if you're a team like the Commanders, my team, you're gonna save $16.5 million by trading or cutting John Allen before the new league year. You're already at $82 million and 75 in effective cap space. So give me 90 and 91 in effective cap space. Like, they're going to go out. They're going to be maybe T. Higgins is our guy. They're going to take away. We just got a text in from the 785 here. Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati, yeah, but I don't think they're re-signing their guys. Like, they do have 61 million, but I think or 58, I guess, is the effective money there. It's only a little bit, right? Like, it's only 5 million more than they thought. So they thought they're going to have 55 to 61, 6. How much does that make you? I don't know, but I think the Chiefs are obviously going to be able to sign 2 guys plus maybe Justin Reed if they're able to. That's going to be the biggest question of them all. Will they be able to get Justin Reed back? Let's take some Ask Me Anything questions here with a little bit remainder of the time that we have. From Vance in the YouTube comments, do you agree with Dan that a hot dog is a when did I miss this? Because I don't remember this talk. A hot dog is a hot dog. That's what a hot dog is. It is on a hot dog roll, I believe. No, it's on a hot dog bun. Hot dog's a hot dog, and hot dogs are great. That's my answer to your question, Vance. Best barbecue we've had since we've been in Kansas City. That's a great question. We've had some good barbecue. Arthur Bryant's by far, I think, still that still hits me because we had Arthur Bryant that went to a Royals game, so we got the full KC experience, like all in one day, right? So we got a ball game and some Arthur Bryant's, and it was darn good. That's a good spot too. Like, I just, the vibes, they were great. So that's still my favorite barbecue spot. Best Doritos flavor. I'm not a big Doritos guy, but if I were a big Doritos guy, I would say just nacho cheese Doritos are great. I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's from Vance again. The best barbecue is from Mark. Mark again. Favorite or best meal you like to cook? I like to cook burgers. I'm a big burger guy, and I just think because I don't know, I just like cooking burgers. If somebody's gonna cook me a burger, it's going to be me or it's going to be like a good restaurant burger. So that's my take on that. We've got to step aside for a break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up with a final word here on 580 Sports Talk.
IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-511-0891. That's 800-511-0891. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
WIBW, Topeka.
One more thing. In conclusion, we better wrap it up.
Final word time here on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, the youngest in command, moving for the final half hour of the show today. Final word for me, it's no question why the Chiefs put their franchise tag on Trey Smith just a little while after the NFL salary cap officially came out. It's because they know they're going to be able to get a long-term deal done with him, but they just don't know when. So they want the security of being able to have him back on the roster if they can't get it done right away, so they can get Nick Bolton, maybe Justin Reed, and even more back. But that's still to be determined. But I think it's a great move for the Chiefs. Tune over to our sister station, Country 106.9, here in just a minute or two, and you'll be able to hear the Washburn Coaches Show with Brendan Dorzinski live from Skinny Sports Bar. And then tune back here around 7 o'clock for high school basketball Road to a Championship here on 580 Preps. Care Paravel hosting Jackson Heights with Dan Lucero and the coach Larry Latimer. And then the Jerome Tang Show coming up tonight around 8:30 right here on 580 WIBW. For Brendan Dorzinski, Dan Lucero, I'm Spencer Dupuis saying so long. We'll talk to you tomorrow.